In Memoria Adytum. SCP-2408. Orok's Fall. SCP-2408 designates several anomalies associated with the Hunter's Black Lodge, an anomalous criminal organization and sarkic cult primarily active in the post-Soviet Samuels. SCP-2408-1 are genetically normal humans capable of undergoing gross physical transfiguration. Known changes include mass increases by multiples of 2, sometimes 3, primarily muscle. Increased bone density. An increase of testosterone production, with levels approximately 6 times as great as in baseline adult males. An increase of adrenaline production, with levels approximately 4 times as great as in baseline adult males. Enlargement of organs in proportion to increased mass with the exception of the testes and adrenal glands, which increase in size well beyond what would be proportional, and the brain, which does not appear to change in size. The manifestation of various non-human physicalities, lupin, hircine, porcine, ursine, cervine, and octopine features have all been recorded. An ability to shift between bipedal and quadrupedal movement. Amplified senses, seeing, hearing, tasting/smelling things outside of human sensory limitations. Amplified strength, speed, and regenerative ability. Unlike Proteus-Cronenberg syndrome, SCP-2408-1 incursions are able to reverse these changes while maintaining cellular SAMU ability. It remains unknown whether or not these transformations can be maintained indefinitely. Complete transmogrification can be achieved within 10 to 30 seconds. SCP-2408 was discovered during Operation Falkenrath. Operation Falkenrath involved the infiltration of the Hunter's Black Lodge. Known as the Hunter's Black Lodge, or simply the Black Lodge, the Hunter's Black Lodge has been linked to extortion, murder, robbery, gambling, prostitution, human trafficking, drug trafficking, weapons trafficking, and underground fighting rings. While these activities are not inherently anomalous, the anomalous capabilities of the Hunter's Black Lodge has had an aberrant effect on their practice. These anomalies include the trafficking and distribution of anomalous pharmaceutical agents, primarily in the form of the anabolic androgenic steroid or RATH. The intravenous injection of RATH triggers anomalous levels of muscle and bone growth. Continued and/or excessive use will result in Proteus-Cronenberg syndrome and/or death. Analysis suggests that this substance is harvested from the adrenal gland of an unidentified species of animal, and has thus been classified as SCP-2408-2A. The trafficking and distribution of lust, a potent narcotic and increasingly prevalent club drug. Normally sold in small, glass vials, it is administered to the body through insufflation into the sinus cavities. Injection has been found to be universally fatal. Substance triggers various sensory hallucinations, increased heart palpitations, increased sexual arousal, and feelings of euphoria. Studies have shown the substance to be more addictive than heroin. These effects are non-anomalous, the substance likely created with profit in mind, but the substance itself appears to be derived from the spinal fluid of an unidentified species, and has thus been classified as SCP-2408-2B. The trafficking and distribution of biological agents, including pathogens and toxins deemed anomalous by the Foundation. The creation and distribution of Red Death represents an exceptionally high-level threat. Already classified as information regarding the Red Death is presently only available on a need-to-know basis. Victims of the Hunter's Black Lodge have been discovered impaled by large organic spines or completely torn apart. Cadavers display injuries suggestive of attacks by several different animals such as bloody hoofprints, wounds consistent with goring by a horned or tusked animal, and teeth marks indicative of a large, lupin organism. The Foundation became aware of the Hunter's Black Lodge in wake of the USSR's dissolution, when many anomalies and documents relating to anomalies were transferred to Foundation control by Gru Division P. The existence of the Hunter's Black Lodge would be further corroborated by former members of Gru Division P. It appears that they were unable to fully contain or neutralize the threat presented by Hunter's Black Lodge, and its associated anomalies, with one source describing the apparent destruction of the organization on several occasions only for it to reappear months later, seemingly strengthened. The first document of the Gru Division P referred to SCP-2408 as GSI Black Lodge. It reads, GSI Black Lodge designates a criminal organization which has augmented its illegal and deviant activity through anomalous means. GSI Black Lodge currently operates throughout the USSR but is suspected to be headquartered in Moscow at a location referred to by the criminal class as the Old Altar. Information about this location has been primarily gathered from rights survivor Samuel T. Ankudinov, executed for criminal involvement once survival was deemed no longer necessary. Next is an interview log dated July 1959 with Samuel T. Ankudinov, a former Black Lodge recruit and survivor of the rights. Interviewer is code-named Agent K. Due to the loss of the subject's mandible, he is only able to respond via writing. Subject has little to no knowledge with regards to specific anomalies and appears to have suffered great psychological trauma from his experience. Subject was recovered by workers from the sewage systems of Moscow's Arbat district. Agent K asked, "Where is the altar?" "I don't know," Samuel said. "Below?" "I could not see." Blindfolded. Agent K continued, "What did you encounter within?" "Tell me everything you perceived." "Old temple." Samuel replied, "Heathen." "Black stone." "Blood." "Meat." "The chanting." "The drumming." Agent K asked, "What were you forced to do?" "Fight or die." "No choice." Samuel replied, "For Orok. For the glory of the hunt." "I was weak." "Pathetic." "Worthless." Agent K asked, "How did you escape?" "Among the dead." Samuel said, "Blood-fed grates." "Crawled away." "Blood and meat and bones." "Deeper." "All was black." "Deserved." "Not strong enough." "Should have been culled with honor." End of log. Agents of NTF-13, Witch Hunters, was officially tasked with the infiltration of the Hunters' Black Lodge in November 1994 as part of Operation Falkenrath. MTF-13 is a highly classified joint foundation and GOC task force created as part of Project Citra Acra. MTF-13 is designed for the infiltration of sarkic organizations and the termination of high-threat members. As part of Project Citra Acra, MTF-13 operatives are trained in counter-occult stratagems, COS, and the use of corrosive/incendiary armaments, each agent equipped with a SIG-Sauer P-226 modified for the use of incendiary and corrosive ammunition. Under the alias Dominic Mishkin, Agent S operated in Moscow as a contract killer in order to develop a criminal reputation and ultimately gain the attention of the Hunters' Black Lodge. On 20th of January 1995, Agent S was contacted by members of the Hunters' Black Lodge and instructed to visit Red Lanterns. Red Lanterns is a popular nightclub and adult entertainment establishment located in the Galianovo district. Employed as a Black Lodge front, it is suspected of being involved in forced prostitution, human trafficking, and the distribution of illegal, frequently anomalous, narcotics. It is believed that local law enforcement has not intervened due to corruption and intimidation by the Hunters' Black Lodge. Agent S was not equipped with a recording device due to the delicate nature of the mission. Instead, information was transferred to the Foundation via dead drop. Agent S entered the nightclub at 2100, January 25, 1995, equipped with a SIG-Sauer P-226. He is observed being approached by a bouncer, which Agent S proceeds to follow after a short conversation. An agent inside the nightclub reports seeing S being escorted to an upstairs VIP suite overlooking the main floor. Agent S does not exit the nightclub until 0800, January 29, 1995. A message would later be delivered to the dead drop site at approximately 2100. We then find the first mission report by Agent S. It reads, I apologize for the delay. I'll start from the beginning. I was brought upstairs and over to a circular table where 6 men and 1 elderly woman were seated. Otaris Viraosava, leader of the Hunter's Black Lodge, sat at the far end, facing an empty chair. He told me to sit, and I obliged. Had a menacing air to him, muscular, never smiled or removed his sunglasses. I suspect the others were higher-ups, but they kept silent for the most part. He dove right and skipped the pleasantries. Said it was nice to see someone who didn't mind doing a bit of wet work. New blood willing to spill blood, I remember him remarking. Iosava said he was aware that I had no brothers. That it was rare, and dangerous, to work solo in Moscow. Informed him that I had received a few offers but told those cock-sucking bitches that they weren't worth my time. Paraphrasing his response, think you're tough. You speak brave words, but maybe you're just another stupid cunt whose luck's about to run out. He was hard to read. His tone and body language was firm but hardly aggressive. Told him those gangs were weak. I responded, why try my luck with the lowest cards in the deck? The elderly woman leaned to Iosava and whispered in his ear. She was noticeably pale and covered with unusual tattoos abnormal for a Russian woman her age. Made me feel a lot more uneasy than those thugs. He said, your blood's wrong, K. Word stuck out to me. Hard to explain. Look it up, but you've got balls. I'll give you one chance to prove yourself. There's going to be a little initiation, a nice way to cull the pussies. Again, paraphrasing. He snapped his fingers and said, for now, we drink and be merry. A waitress delivered a bottle of vodka and several glasses. As per tradition, we poured our own shots. Iosava raised a glass, I returned the favor, and we drank. And in a blink, I find myself tied up and naked on the cold floor, a hood over my head and a proper ball gag in my mouth. Not so weird. Red Lanterns has a kind of BDSM theme going on. I had figured pouring my own drink would have avoided this exact sort of situation. Maybe the bottom of the glass had a layer of some kind of tranquilizer. Hard to say. Doesn't matter. It all gets a lot weirder. Eventually they came for me and carted me off. Was pointless to fight it. This went on for maybe an hour or two. I remember hearing the sound of old pipes and flowing water. The air was chill and damp. There was a scent of rust and stagnant water followed by an earthy aroma. There were voices. And not all were speaking Russian. Sida's Nin, Vartaz X Dask or something like that. Gibberish to me, but I'm certain it was Sarkic speak. They chained me by the neck to what I would later find to be a pillar or some kind of support beam. They untied the rope from my wrists and ankles, pulled off my hood, and removed the gag. I was in a dimly lit area resembling an amphitheater, appeared fairly ancient. There were 4 other men in similar circumstances to my own, chained by the neck to a pillar. There was also a large crowd, possibly in the hundreds, observing from higher ground. Some wore red and white robes, others were dressed in plain clothes or business attire. I felt a prick at the base of my neck and everything after was a blur. I heard chanting. I remember skulls cracked, eyes gouged, and the feel of flesh between my teeth. Then celebration, drugs, food, women, and flashes of violence not necessarily in that order. The memories are confused, just vague and disjointed images. I apologize for the lack of details. I awoke in my apartment with my skin still caked in blood. Received a tattoo, don't remember that at all, and took me by surprise. Resembles a black cyclops skull with horns and tusks. Guess they've accepted me as one of their own. I'll be sure to step out shirtless a few times. Have the surveillance ops snap a few photographs, see if it means anything. End of log. The Foundation would henceforth receive bi-weekly mission reports from Agent S. The next mission report was dated February 4, 1995. It reads: First job was gun running. More damning evidence against Abraxas Arms, a company long suspected of having Sarkic ties. Not a lot to report beyond that. In a lot of ways, the Black Lodge is like any other Bratva. They're thugs, plain and simple, and mostly driven by greed. They're also nastier, which speaks volumes. You can't get much lower than the Bratva. They discarded any trace of honor they had left in Siberia. The Great Mothers are certainly something you don't see in the world of organized crime. The criminal enforcers of a Bratva call them hags, crones, witches, and the like, though not to their faces. The Sarkic influence is clear with them. 12 in number, they refer to each other as sisters priestesses or some such. All wear the same outfits: a black sarafan, a traditional Russian peasant dress, a stained leather apron, and a red and white shawl covering the shoulders and hair. Always barefooted. A lot of ink work too. They aren't Karsists 15, but they still wield a great deal of clout over the Black Lodge. End of report. Next report dated March 10, 1995, it reads: Criminal underground has a literal meaning for the Black Lodge. There's another world beneath Moscow. Abandoned Soviet bunkers. The metro too. Forgotten crypts. But it runs so much deeper than we knew. There's something downright ancient below. Suffice it to say, I think Moscow was built atop a Sarkic temple. There's a dungeon. Rusted torture equipment. Pre-revolution. Maybe a relic of the time of troubles. Regardless, it looks like the Sarkicites are continuing the tradition. It's not nearly as deep and ancient as that wretched temple. Might be worth researching what buildings used to exist in the general location during the 17th century. Further research suggests that a church, presumably Russian Orthodox, once existed at the site now occupied by the Red Lanterns nightclub. I don't know much about these places yet. Information seems to be on a need-to-know basis. But I think I've found a weak link in their chain, one of the Great Mothers. Let's call her 5. 5 shows signs of senility. She's gentle, friendly, and more importantly naive. I've been able to glean some fairly significant intelligence from her, but can't say how much truth there is to any of it. According to her, the Black Lodge is something both new and old. Like the other Bratva, it began in the gulags of Siberia during the Bitch Wars. Avgusty Osava, father of Otari, appears to have been responsible for the Black Lodge's resurrection in 51. Something he encountered in the Siberian wilderness after leading a successful prison break. And that's when the witches sought him out. Guided him. Showed him what he had forgotten. I asked what she meant by that, but her mind wandered elsewhere. She seemed happy to have someone listen to her, a chance to feel nostalgic about the old ways. She told me to take this secret and handed me several old and frayed documents, scriptures but not the originals, notes she must have transcribed from their primary sources. Fragmented, but something I think the researchers would like to see. Going to write this all down. 5 also told me about Moscow's lost history. In another time, it was known by a different name, Orok's Fall, a Sarkic settlement, and where the saint of war sacrificed himself for the blood of gods and tyrants. Never cared for this city. Guessed there was always something sinister here. As she described the ancient city, her terminology was unusually anatomical in nature, referring to different locations as the heart, lungs, and skull of Orok's Fall. End of report. Next report dated April 18, 1995, it reads: I am making a special request to have my name, as well as what I've done, you'll know soon enough, removed from the final report. If I successfully complete my mission and come out of this alive, then I request the immediate application of amnestics. Most of my targets have been degenerates and criminals, potential rivals and the like. But this was different. And Otari, that sick dam, wanted us to leave a different kind of message. There are other Sarkic cultists in Moscow, non-Black Lodge. I'm talking about oligarchs. Government officials. One of them sent word that someone in the Ministry of Internal Affairs, a man named was expunged, wanted to crack down on the Black Lodge and was searching for allies among the few straight players left in this city. Target the family. A wife, a daughter. Don't kill them. Make an example. The sort of scars that'll never heal. The rest of the report was expunged. End of report. Next report dated April 22, 1995, it reads. Spoke with 5 again, still trying to clear my head of what happened. She's not like the others and I'm beginning to question just how senile she really is. When she speaks of me, and her faith, there is a tone of regret. I asked her more about sarkicism. Don't worry, I didn't say the S word, as true sarkicites refer to their belief system as Nalka and the word sark is offensive to them. And when she tells me about Ion, I feel like a child again listening to my babushka talk about Jesus and the old prophets. Whimsical, and like her, skipping over the parts that involve glorified torture and murder. I'm no researcher, historian or theologian or whatever. But I think these cults, this sarkicism didn't begin this way, but I suppose that goes for most religions. 5 talks about honor, friendship, virtue, and liberation. The gentle reindeer folk of Adytum against the evil diva. She's old, but I take it the faith changed long before her. Maybe she has begun to interpret the texts differently. Maybe she's wrong, seeing good under layers of madness and atrocity. I can relate. It's always the same. Another failed revolution. Regardless, I suspect 5 is an aberration. Perhaps that is the reason she confided in me. The others talk about the great mothers, saying they can see things. At times I wonder if she knows who I really am. And then my training tells me to eliminate her. I think I'll ignore that training for now. Besides, no point taking out a source like her. Not yet at least. P.S. The arena. It isn't just for initiation. Blood sport disguised as ritual. Or maybe ritual disguised as blood sport. 6 enter. Only 1 comes out. A lot of folks are willing to pay to see and bet on it. Many wear the skulls of beasts and the clean suits of billionaires. 5's not a fan. It's like listening to people complain about the commercialization of Christmas. I know the Black Lodge has been classified as neo-sarkic, but the Great Mothers are pretty clearly proto-sarkic. They're traditional, celebrate the high holidays, and still think in terms of some greater good. The rest only care about how to make themselves stronger, wealthier, etc. Otari has an animal cunning to him, but he is hardly an intellectual, nor does he appear to be a karcist, or at least, the term hasn't been thrown around at all. End of report. Next report dated May 1st, 1995, it reads. They've got me working the dungeon, but they don't literally call it that. As I said before, I'm certain this place was in use well before the revolution. I wonder if the Tsars knew how many they more or less sacrificed atop an altar. Maybe they did. It wouldn't surprise. Sarkicism is a disease and has more carriers than we ever imagined. They actually call it the basement's basement, somehow creepier than dungeon. Torture. Information gathering. Not that it is ever reliable. Examples are made. One last warning not to cross the Black Lodge. Organ harvesting too. You'd think these sarkic types would have them growing from trees. Sometimes it is just to satisfy Otari's sadism. There's one cell that's different. Asked Abovik about it. Said he didn't know and that he didn't need to know, so neither did I. A heavy door, different from the rusted bars of every other cell, built with a small slit to peer through and another for food. Inside I saw a man, or what was left of him. His face, at least the eyes and nose, were gone, the whole area carved out, and now just a gaping hole. It reminded me of a cyclops, like the hole was gazing back at me. Kind of like that tattoo, so they may be related. He was sitting on the floor, nude and cross-legged, a muscular body covered in tattoos, scars, and dried blood. Chain-linked hooks held his body in place, so he couldn't move even if he wanted to. I honestly thought he was dead at first, but I could hear his heavy breathing and see the slow expansion and reduction of his chest. I've no idea what to make of him. End of report. Next report dated May 6, 1995, it reads. 5 let me in on a little secret. Otari has a brother by the name of Mikhail. Same father, different mother. And he's that half-dead thing in the cell. Apparently Otari and Mikhail have somewhat of a rivalry, but that isn't why Mikhail's been imprisoned and defaced. 5 was vehement about that. It seems that Mikhail volunteered for some sort of ritual. Things are getting pretty damned up here. Not sure if it's the drugs or not. I'll leave a vial with this report. I'm seeing things. The angles in the club, and everything below, are wrong. The architecture gives me a headache if I stare at it too long. Yesterday I woke in a bathroom stall with a half-eaten woman. The whores at Red Lanterns, they look human one moment then the next. Well, I know monster isn't really appropriate in this line of work, but not sure how else to describe them. They stare at me with feral, hungry eyes. 5 once called them Rizalki. I thought she was just being figurative, but now I'm not so sure. They slither off into the back rooms with fresh meat tailing behind. They'll be back an hour later, looking satisfied, but the men that go and don't ever come out. And when I watch the pit fights, there are things in the audience that aren't entirely human. There are sounds I can't explain, like a heartbeat, sometimes roars something from deep below, where all the blood and corpses go. End of report. The vial was found to contain the venom of an unidentified organism. Further research is pending. Agent S was declared missing in action on May 28, 1995. On June 4, 1995, after much deliberation, raids were conducted against multiple Black Lodge sites, including the Red Lanterns nightclub. During the assault, SCP-2408-1 were directly observed undergoing transfiguration. Despite their aggression and anomalously augmented combat prowess, the SCP-2408-1 threat was thoroughly neutralized through the use of incendiary armaments, with the Foundation unexpectedly suffering only minor casualties. As operations continued, it grew readily apparent that the Black Lodge had provided minimal manpower, a mere fraction of its total population in the region. The mission would result in the discovery of SCP-2408-3. SCP-2408-3 is a megalithic temple complex located within a large cavern deep beneath the city of Moscow. Approximately 3,000 years old, it is the oldest standing structure in Russia and is the type site of the Sarkic culture group. SCP-2408-3's composition comes in 2 forms, inorganic and organic. Its inorganic portion encompasses the exterior and is constructed from stacked megaliths of gabbro, commonly known as black granite. Its anomalous organic portion fills the interior and is composed of bone, muscle, and viscera. Found among the grounds of the complex was a gladiatorial arena and a large altar. From the cavern ceiling dangled the remains of 12 elderly women apparently disemboweled and hanged via their own intestines. Iron grates on the floor are similar to those found in meat processing plants, and are likely designed to capture blood and general viscera. The last iteration of the SCP is restricted to Level 4 personnel. When we access it, it reads, SCP-2408-4 is a humanoid organism located directly beneath SCP-2408-3, horizontally positioned with its arms and legs outwardly extended. Entity is apparently disabled/immobile and likely brain dead. Genetically human, albeit one with many normally dormant genes being expressed, SCP-2408-4 displays many features that do not naturally occur among humans, save for certain genetic and almost universally fatal deformities. These include a single eye located at the center of the face, flat nasal slit rather than a protruding nose, tusks, horns, and various other corneous protrusions, 3 rows of sharpened teeth, enlarged, relative to its size, and heavily muscled jaws, partial exoskeleton in coincidence with an endoskeleton, both skeletons being anomalously strong with a tensile strength comparable to carbine. SCP-2408-4's most notable anomaly is its size, with an estimated standing height of 300 meters and a weight of 70,000 to 72,000 tons, far larger than what should be physically possible for a terrestrial animal. Based upon the unusual length of its arms, relative to the rest of its body, SCP-2408-4 likely moved with a gait not dissimilar from that of a gorilla. Further DNA analysis resulted in the discovery of certain inconsistencies, which has resulted in the hypothesis that SCP-2408-4 achieved part of its anomalous biomass through the absorption of potentially more than 100,000 human and non-human organisms. SCP-2408-4 can only be directly accessed via 3 distinct shafts, 2 of which are equipped with mechanical lifts analogous to those used in mining operations. Each shaft connects to a specific region of the body, the skull, the stomach, and the groin, and it is feared that the creation of further shafts would result in structural instability, potentially endangering a large area of Moscow. The passage to the stomach, which lacks a mechanical lift, appears to directly connect to the arena, ultimately providing SCP-2408-4 with sustenance. The bronze tips of over 3,000 arrows, harpoons, and spears, belonging to a wide range of Eurasian cultures, have been extracted from its muscle tissue. An exact cause for SCP-2408-4's current disabled state remains unknown, and some portions of the body appear to be undergoing slow decay while other parts appear to be regenerating. SCP-2408-4's body is believed to be the source of SCP-2408-2A and SCP-2408-2B. Evidence indicates that prior to its discovery by Foundation operatives, certain SCP-2408-2 producing organs and glands were surgically removed, such as the adrenal gland, pineal gland, testes, and hypothalamus, and likely smuggled out of Moscow by members of the Hunters' Black Lodge. The secure containment of these anomalous organic objects is of the utmost priority. At present, the Hunters' Black Lodge has expanded its influence while SCP-2408-2B addiction has reached epidemic proportions, with long-time addicts developing unusual physical traits, e.g. leathery skin, black sclera and yellow irises, skeletal protrusions, and various other mutations. Unable to contain all those addicted to SCP-2408-2B, Overwatch has ordered the capture and humane termination of afflicted individuals at designated kill sites. Remains are to be disposed of per hazardous waste protocols, unless authorized for research. This order will remain in effect until SCP-2408-2B is properly contained and/or eliminated. As of now, the Foundation issued these special containment procedures. The Foundation is to infiltrate and control law enforcement agencies in areas where the Hunters' Black Lodge activity is suspected. Information regarding the anomalous activities of the Hunters' Black Lodge is to be suppressed. MTF-13, which Hunters has been tasked with the search for and elimination of the Hunters' Black Lodge members, SCP-2408-1. In the event that a member is captured alive, they are to be thoroughly interrogated, using any means deemed necessary. Prior to termination, the bodies autopsied and disposed of per hazardous waste protocols. Mobile Task Force Psi-9, Abyss Gazers, is to provide security to researchers at SCP-2408-3. Individuals attempting to gain access to SCP-2408-3 are to be terminated on site. Patrols are to search for potential access points, which must be securely sealed when discovered. Armed Reliquary and Biological Containment Area 06 has been constructed beneath Moscow in order to contain and study SCP-2408-3.